Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the To Be Fit podcast. I'm your host, Brian Bott. Today, I'm joined by the leader of the Feels Good movement and owner of the Garage Gym located in Westfield and Little Silver, Kieran. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
All right, man. So you left the corporate world, right? Before you're doing what you're doing now, which is obviously running the Garage Gym, you were living the corporate life. So what was kind of the impetus? I know you made a video before that I checked out and I got the whole spiel, but break it down for me again. Like you're in the corporate world and you decide, hey, you know what? I'm leaving this and I want to go pursue kind of running this Garage Gym. How did that start?
It's a very long story that I'll condense as best I can, but I will say I'm very fortunate. So before I got to the point of let's leave a job and do the Garage Gym full time, I was employee 25 at a very small company called Global Data Consortium. I worked 100% remote. And it was during that period where I actually found the garage. So I didn't wake up one day and start the garage. I was an employee, and then I found my way to the garage as a member. Story for rabbit hole for a different day. And then I was asked by my partner to jump on board. So I worked full time and built the garage, I think for the better part of 2 years. So I had a full income, and then I used that income to fuel everything that was the garage. And then it got to the point where we had already opened up our second location. I felt like I was living this I was taking an account executive and software sales for. Now the company got acquired, the London Stock Exchange. They're trying to get me going to the city 3 days a week, and I'm also founder CEO, Garage Gym, 2 locations, building this brand online. And I'm like, this doesn't feel good, man. There's never gonna be a right time. The money in the bank account or this is teed up. I'm like, I have to do this now. The stars kind of aligned, and then I just did. And it was actually a year ago, February 1st, was my last day. I put in a month's notice, I think, in early January. I worked until February, and that was full-time garage.
Yeah, because everybody wants to hear this clean-cut story, right? Of once I was exactly making this amount of money from the gym, that's when I knew to leave. But so obviously, you're the founder and CEO along with this company now. So obviously, it has a special piece of your heart. But you were a member at first. So what problem was it solving for you? Why was it such a special place that you were like, dude, I love this. This is something that I would consider. Maybe not at the time you thought you were going to leave your job, but I would be considered doing this also full time.
It's funny, man. I think I'll have an extra layer of emotion to it, of course, because I lived in Raleigh, North Carolina for a little bit right after I graduated from college. And it was a unique point in my life that I won't dive totally into, but I was working out like a madman. I was so violently focused on myself. I didn't really do much that wasn't workout, sleep, and go to my job. My daily routine at that time was I would wake up 4:30, ride my bike an hour and 10 minutes one way. I'd typically run 8 miles when I got there. I would go to my desk. I would I would download podcasts. I'd read books. I would lift on my lunch. I would bike an hour and 10 minutes home. I'd take a nap, have a peanut butter and jelly, go to the YMCA, have a cross-training circuit, and then go to sleep. So it was that level of so focused on myself, really didn't do anything else. And then I found my way to the garage. The garage, way back when, was this really, literally, you have the key code to the door, 0247. It was a punch thing. Paid $100 a month, and it was a couple people. I think it was maybe less than 50 members. And I think it was particularly special for me at that time because I went from a world where I was alone 90% of the time. And even if I was around my coworkers or other stuff, I wasn't really into it. So I was alone most of the time. And now I found this collection of people that were kind of like me. They're working out, they're building businesses, they're doing stuff in and out of the gym. And very naturally, I formed friendships. So those friendships turned into highs and buys, knuckles in the gym, to we work out every Tuesday at whatever time, to, dude, let's grab coffee once a month, to a mandatory once a year dinner with now 3 of my best friends, Sam, John, and Jamie. And I think the emotional tie there for me was particularly kind of that self journey. And then it was also this is so cool, man. I get to go to a gym and I work out with my friends, and I was just so in love with it. My partner now, Sam, at the time, to his credit, reached out to me. Dude, I'm building this thing, Alpha Fit Club. I don't really have time for this garage thing. Do you want to come on board? 50-50, no buy-in, just help me out with it. And I'm like, listen, dude, with all due respect, kick rocks. I'm not going to take half of your business for no money. It doesn't feel good. So we came to terms. I basically spent all of the money in my bank account to be a part of the garage gym just because I loved it so much. But mind you, I didn't know what rent costed. I don't know how many members we had. I literally didn't ask a single question other than like, how do I get you this money? Do you want it in a bag? Am I going to drive it to your house? He's like, dude, you're going to freaking wire it to me. I'm like, what's a wire? So from day one, it was learn everything. But I think to answer your question, started with such an emotional, almost to like a silly extreme of like, dude, you didn't ask any questions. How well did you know this kid? So it was such a strong emotional attachment and conviction in what this place does for people that I was just like, dude, we'll figure the rest out as we go.
Yeah, I had a similar story when we were starting Aspire. It was like I worked for someone and things were going really, really well. And then this opportunity came up where someone that we were buying supplements from, like a nutritionist, he called me and was like, hey, this guy has a space in Colts Neck. Someone just left there. He needs somebody in there. Like, would you be interested? And it was the same thing. I was like, dude, absolutely. And I was like, do you have any money? He was like, not really. And I was like, I had like a credit card with like a 24.99% interest rate. And I was like, I'm going for it, man. And, you know, we've been rocking ever since. But, you know, for people that don't know, because obviously there's gonna be people that listening that have no idea, you know, give me the recap on the garage gym. What is it? What makes it different from other open access facilities? You know, what's the deal?
The garage, I always like to frame as a home away from home for individuals really eager to invest in their health, wellness, and relationships. To some people, that sounds really foo-foo, so I don't dive too much into it. Very tangibly, it's clean, it's not crowded, you can train how and when you'd like. Our facility in Westfield is truly 24/7. The facility in Little Silver has really awesome hours, but we weren't allowed to be 24/7. But the whole goal is kind of flipping the traditional open access gym model, i.e. I have a barcode, I have a pass, I go to a gym and to a front desk and I want to work out, on its head. Most gyms are super crowded, half the equipment's broken, and the overall vibe is just pretty crummy. It's not really exciting to be there. You can get in an awesome workout, but like it also could be so much better. So the goal is like, how do we make this epic? Like, let's keep it clean. Let's limit memberships to make sure it's not crowded. And then let's get to know all members before they can join to make sure that they're an awesome add to the culture of what we're building. And it turns into this experience that's way more than a gym. You can absolutely work out. But then you can also really get to know folks. We do a lot of community stuff. I'll dive into it at a later date, but it's really just a collection of some of the greatest people I'm fortunate to call friends. And now I'm really passionate about like, how do you help these people even more so out of the gym? The gym is there. The four walls are awesome. We've got that pretty down pat. How do we support our people in finding the version of themselves that is 100% in and out of the gym is pretty fun.
The clean thing is super important, right? Because my background was in powerlifting coming up through college and things like that. And like there was this like, there was this weird association that like if the gym was hardcore, that meant like that it was dirty.
Tetanus.
Like yeah, it's like you can be really strong and like not have blood on the barbells. Like that's okay. Like you're allowed to clean those off. So like I appreciate that because like I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions is there's this image of like, oh, this is a hardcore gym. And I'm not trying to label it that at all, but like a gym where people train intensely, let's say. And like, well, that meant that there was going to be just like chalk all over the floor and like the bathrooms are disgusting. Nothing's put away. Yeah, everything's backwards. Things just broken. But like, hey, that's where the strongest dudes train. You know, and the other piece that you talked about was I think it was actually earlier was really about like how your journey came from like, hey, I'm going to be this person. It sounded like you were very like, I'm going to figure this out on my own, right? Or, you know, this is for me and I'm trying to get the most out of this for myself. And then I think like most things, whether it's business, I don't care, religion, whatever, you could try to do all your own study on your own, but eventually you need a community of people all with different understandings and different walks of life, you know, pulling you further. There's, you know, no one in any of this stuff is self-made. At some point they were surrounded with, even if it was one mentor that helped pull them out, you know, to what they were going to be. So just speak to that about like, you know, who attends the garage gym? Who's there? Is it, you know, I'm sure it's a good collection of people, but you know, if you had to define it as simply as you could, you know, what's your avatar for someone who's coming and training at the garage?
It's a good question and reasonably one that we get pretty often. Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, is it CrossFit? Am I going to train for a marathon? Do I have to do a high rocks? And I'm like, listen, you can train for anything. Probably not powerlifting. Like we just don't really have set up for that. You can lift really heavy. Powerlifting is probably where the line is drawn. But I always say it's the intention of the individual that comes into the four walls of the gym and what they're working towards. It could be a high rocks race. It could be starting a business. It could be I just had my first kid and this is my outlet. It has been really powerful talking to so many folks and hearing what the garage gym means to them. Just no cameras around, just kind of riffing like this. And oh man, who was it the other day? Someone I know is going through like maybe it was a rough patch, maybe they're an entrepreneur. I forget exactly what it was. I'm like, dude, what do you need help with? He goes, dude, keep doing this. Like this place is all of the help I could ever ask for. So back to Avatar, I think it's less the modality, it's less where you are in your life. Of course, like you got to be at least like 18. And we typically don't have any like 90-year-olds. Somewhere in between that range, but of really intentional about not only the training that you want to do, but aspiring to live a life that you know that you can live. And back to the community piece that you mentioned, I think you're always one perspective shift, one water or coffee or run-in at the gym away from meeting someone, hearing something, or seeing something that could completely change the trajectory of your life. So I think the people who find their way to the garage are maybe intentionally or inadvertently looking for a little bit more. They're tired of the huge gym model. They don't want to work out in their own home gym anymore. They want some community around it. And they're just looking for more life, I think.
Yeah, because I think the business and fitness have so many parallels. And if you are trying to get better at either one of those, or anything for that matter, if you're the best person in the room at it, then you probably need to change rooms.
Yep.
Right? So, it's inspiring to be in a room if I'm trying to, whatever, like you're saying, if I'm trying to get stronger, if I'm trying to get faster, if I'm intimidated about maybe doing my first high rocks race or whatever, but like, hey, there's 10 or other 15 people in the room at this time that are all going through that same thing, it brings the walls down a little bit. And the other thing for me, I know from running our businesses for the last 10 years, some of our best business connections that our members have had are from meeting, like what they're paying for their membership is well worth it just for the introductions and the people that they're meeting in the room. And
that's a whole nother layer to it. I won't go down that rabbit hole, but I could not agree more.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you're talking about, it's the best way I heard it to kind of summarize what you said earlier is like, we're in the business of trying to of identity engineering, right? It's not, we're the exercises, like you said before, like, hey, the modalities, whatever, the goal, it matters, but who cares? It's convincing these people that they are someone that aspires to have a goal or to show up at the same place every time and be okay with trying hard enough to fail, right? Like, so letting them know that, hey, I am somebody that goes to the gym 4 days a week. I am somebody that, despite whether I want to do this or not, or I'm going to have shitty days where these workouts are really hard, I show up, I put my headphones on or whatever I need to do, and I give it my best effort.
I think for me, it started off explicitly fitness, but now it's fitness and entrepreneurship. But originally and specifically fitness is one of the best teachers that I have ever had in my life, as far as continue to show up, fall on your face. It's going to suck. Some days it's going to be really good. Maybe you get runner's high. My girlfriend says she's never felt it in her life. But as long as you keep doing it, the person that I believe you become on the other side of doing a hard workout, showing up if you don't want to, early, morning, late, whatever the time is, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but in continuing to A, do something that is inherently good for you, exercise, but then also B, keeping the commitments that you make to yourself, I think is one of the best ways, if not the best way, to build self-confidence to then become that person that you know that you can be.
Yeah. Have you ever heard I think it's like a Henry Rollins quote about training. Have you ever heard that?
Not sure.
He's basically like, listen, the reason that fitness and training is the best indicator is because 300 pounds is 300 pounds. It doesn't care whether your girlfriend yelled at you or you just got fired from your job or you just won the lottery. None of those things matter. At that point in time, if you're trying to lift 300 pounds, you've either done the work that is required to do that or not. It doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about anything else. It's just a strict, if you're trying to run at this pace, you've either done the work that was required over that amount of time to do it or not.
It's so beautifully and painfully objective.
We'll look it up to figure out what the exact quote is, but that's a summary of it. It's it does 300 pounds is 300 pounds. Doesn't care about your feelings. Doesn't care about what your job is or anything like that. It's you either did the work or you didn't.
It's staring right back at you, waiting.
Mm-hmm. So we mentioned hey, the people that come to us are sick of the commercial gym environment. What are a few of those things that they're just hey, this sucks?
I mean, crowds definitely. And it's, again, I've only trained at the garage for the past 3 years. From traveling, I'll hit another gym and it's neat and experience. But crowds are definitely big. And I think if I were to say a number 2 behind crowds or in tandem with crowds, again, the type of individual that we attract. I love all gyms. There's no hate to any gym really ever. I like to banter is fun.
Sure.
But dude, the fact that people are going somewhere to look to better themselves, whether they're walking on the treadmill on their phone the whole time or they're actually getting a good workout, I'm just happy people are moving. I think that's awesome. But with that, I think what a lot of people who are looking intentionally for the next version of themselves or for a community of people to your point, if you're the smartest person in the room, if you're the fittest person in the room and you want to level up, you need to get out of that room into rooms with smarter, fitter, wiser, etc. In tandem with super crowded is just like, I want to be around people who are working, not only just working in the gym, ripping the ski, deadlifting or bench pressing, but working to better themselves in and out of the gym. Back to the members at your gym and the business introductions or opportunities they have because they are there. If you go to a gym, which is how our process works today, you apply, you book a phone call, we talk on the phone, we get to know a little bit, you come in for a tour, and our average membership between both facilities is $200 a month. Not only the financial investment, which is legit, but the time and resource investment. Everyone's busy. Everyone's busy, whether you're working on important stuff or not important stuff, everyone's typically busy. So the fact that you want to spend 15 minutes on the phone call, probably an hour round trip, driving to a gym, meeting with a guy, walking through, making sure that's fit, another 15 minutes on the way home, I think speaks so much more to the financial investment. But both of them combined brings in this awesome human who wants to be surrounded by more people like themselves. Not exactly like them, but more like themselves. And it was funny, a buddy of mine just left, huge new gym in town, and he said, dude, it's awesome. It's immaculate. It's pretty. He's like, but it's like a hangout. And he's like, there's nothing wrong with that. He's like, I just don't want that. I'm like, cool, dude. Like, let me know what you think. And he comes in and he's like, dude, I get it. Like, the people are working out. It's not crowded. And they're looking for, I think, some combination of the crowds are wild and like, I want to get after it in the gym and in life.
Makes total sense.
I know you have the same stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like you said, I share the same sentiment. If people are moving or they're doing anything in their own mind that's helping them move towards their goal, awesome. But there's nothing more frustrating than like you're trying to get something done and like someone's just like sitting there on their phone or everybody's got their headphones on, no one can communicate with each other, and everybody's just kind of in their own world, and you're trying to like. If you are there on one of those like shittier days, it's not always necessarily like, the most inspiring environment to be like, all right, like, you know what, I'm gonna put this together as best I can and move forward. So the other aspect that you talked about was community, right? So I've seen you guys have done a lot of stuff. Like you have a pizza and pump coming up. You guys hosted like a women's only workout. So, if you can speak to those events a little bit, like why is that super important to you guys, and how are you looking at, as the leader of this, like how are you looking at organizing those events to try to keep people fired up?
It's cool, man. And I will say, I think I'm fortunate. I was having this conversation yesterday. Of course, business is a business. You need to make money to like stay alive. Mm-hmm. But really my knee-jerk decision-making reaction is how do we serve our people? And that will probably also overflow into retention and making more money. Mm-hmm. But this is like so red hot the focus that with community events, I'm spoiled. I know every single person in the gym. We've all spoke on the phone. If I didn't tour them, they toured themselves and we've connected afterwards. So I have an opportunity to get to know all of the Bryans, all of the Taylors, all of the Sams, all of the whomever. And I know how awesome they are and what they're up to and what they do. There's so many people, now back to the last question at the garage, who come in wanting more out of their gym experience and more out of their life, particularly from a get to know people lens. Maybe you're starting a business and you want funding. Maybe you're just new to town and you want some friends. Like whatever the reasoning is, like you want to meet people, and the best place to meet people is like where you typically go, which in this instance is the garage. So really the driving force is for me this passion to provide people the opportunity to have an experience, one on an experience lens, just something fun. Everyone, I think a lot of people, at least speaking for myself, I've ripped myself out of doing the same thing every freaking day. Work, sleep, work out, take my dog out. Work, sleep, work. I think it's a great place to get stuff done, but it's also a place where I wake up 2 months later, I'm like, dude, what the heck? I need to do something different. So you create these experiences, you keep them close to home. 100% of them are free unless we're raising money for charity. So like, there's no excuse to go. You give people this opportunity to connect with one another, have an experience, and leave better off because of it, I think. I try when I remember all of these events when I get up and talk about it. I said, guys, we're here for the workout, for pizza, for fun, with charity or whatever it is, but leave with a friend. Like, look to the person left or right of you. If you know them, cool. But find someone that you don't know, give them a knuckle touch and say hi, introduce yourself. You have a new friend today. Like, if you can do that once a month, once every quarter, like over the course of your life, how many new quality friends in an already vetted community can you have? And I think even maybe the second part is a little self-serving too. I think understanding, there was a point in time where like I thought having friends was like silly. I'm working out 5 hours a day. I like deleted all my social media. I didn't want anything to do with anything that wasn't working out so hard. But then I found the garage and I found these dudes who were like, yo, do you want to work out? And I'm like, oh, these guys, what do they want? Like, what the heck is going on? And I started working out, and there's never any strings attached, but it was just an opportunity to meet these guys, to break a sweat. Another 3 of my best friends who have completely changed the trajectory of my life. So I think on 2 fronts, it's serving, and then even more so understanding where I was in my head a couple years ago. Dude, can we give someone an opportunity to like completely change their life? It sounds sometimes dramatic, but at the same time, like I've experienced it myself and I've seen it with other people. You meet one person and all of a sudden your life can change. So
a lot of times when we record these podcasts, right, everything sounds like perfect. Oh, you know what? Kieran woke up one day and was like, I'm going to be part of the garage gym. Amazing. And then the rest was history. Like, what are some of the more like difficult situations you had to deal with in terms of like making sure that you manage that culture or manage the growth of these places that you're like, well, I wish I wouldn't have had to deal with that. But, you know, that are obviously realistic things that people who open businesses or run communities and have to manage that culture deal with. You know, but what are some of the more challenging experiences that you've had in terms of like making things that are staying on track? And, you know, it's a lot of work maintaining a culture, right? Like you're not selling a widget, right? You're like, you know, you're not like
one and done.
Yeah. Like it's a day in and day out, you know, thing that you have to work on to make sure that you're taking care of the people that you have and the people in there are who they say they are and stay true to that. So, you know, I'm just more interested in like, what are some of the things that went wrong, you know, along the way?
It's funny, man. You're talking to a very sometimes dramatic glass half full guy. And like, I realize even with myself, with business, with some of the races and runs and events that I've done, which are super difficult, I almost sometimes choose not even to give it power. And I'll say that it's easy. It's not that bad, which is wildly ignorant. And I don't mean that, but that's kind of the internal dialogue that I have with myself to stay the course. Because sometimes in my head, I'm like, if I acknowledge this as really hard, I'm going to think, maybe I think it's too hard and I'm not going to do it. But if I say, dude, this is simple, this is easy, it sometimes gets funny when I'm like, oh, it's going to be simple, it's going to be easy. And then 12 months later, we're working with the town of Little Silver trying to get something done. And we've basically made no progress. I would say macro level, even outside of the nitty gritty of the gym, is just like internally Kieran Williams. I think entrepreneurship is one of the best self-teachers I've ever had in my life. It was originally fitness, and I learned so much about myself in 100-mile running, 2-day running. You got a lot of time to think to yourself, but it's also much less complicated because it's just me. It's my 2 legs, and I gotta run, and I gotta eat, and like cross the finish line. Business, you have hundreds of members, you have money involved, you have personalities, you have life. Specifically, I mean, there's a couple small stuff with like trying to build in towns, and that's just stuff that I think you get through. But for me, it's probably been more of the like, who is Kieran Williams shaping up to be, and how do I want to operate? And as of more recent, it's been building the garage for the past 3 years. I think I made a commitment to myself that it's like the needs of the business outweigh the needs of everything. So for me, it was like, if it's ever a fork in the road of like what Kieran does or what the business needs, it's what the business needs. I think that's a pretty good way to look at it at a certain chapter of life. But now I'm in a different chapter where the business is a little bit different. And I'm toying with this idea of like, dude, like you can like not work all the time. Like you can like, you don't have to be 10 p.m. on a freaking Sunday doing email. Like maybe you just do it on Monday. So I think it's more of the personal, who is the person that I need to be? Who's the person that I need to be, and who do I want to be? At the expense of sounding a little bit too airy, but like the person that I'm becoming through all of this sometimes is a little bit more challenging than like, oh shoot, someone's card failed, or like the town stinks. A little bit deeper of an answer, but that has been really cool to kind of mold as we go forward and use the business as a vehicle to do that, or to learn it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've certainly had those struggles as like it's hard to be the person all the time, right? Because at some point you're like, I don't want to be the person that has to come up with the content. I don't want to and you know, not that you get resentful, but at some point you're just like, I just need to breathe, right? And we have a team, right? Like, so I can't imagine like, you know, for people that are listening that aren't really sure, like you're the dude, right? Like there is no like I'm blessed to have Lauren and Katie and Sean. Like those are our two head coaches and manager, and Adam, my business partner. And I know you have, you know, obviously you have a business partner, but in terms of what he might be focused on versus you, I'm sure it leans, you know, stronger towards you. Like that's a lot of responsibility. So like on those days where you're like, dude, I just want to like not that, you know, I never want to not do this, but there's certainly days that you wake up and you're like, fuck this. Like I need to be, you know, how do you get yourself kind of like refocused?
It's, again, this is going to be violently positive, but like for me, like this is what I chose to do, man. Like like I get chills even talking about it. The fact that I can freaking wake up, I can read, maybe I don't read every day, but now like I can read, I can journal, I can work out, I can like figure all of this out. I can make money. It's a vetted community in many ways. So everyone who is there, we have allowed in. I'm able to choose the meetings that I want to have, the meetings that I don't want to have. And I'm really able to orchestrate my life in tandem with building this business. Like to me, I'm like, dude, what a privilege, dude. Like I've been in jobs where I'm like, this freaking 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. meeting, no agenda, my boss sucks, blah, blah, blah. Like that blows. And like, I don't want to do that. But the fact that I don't have to do that, even on such like a micro scale, in addition to like my family's healthy, my girlfriend's healthy, like life is really good, dude. So like for me, again, back to like sometimes a little too positive that people can't really process. I think you have a choice in how you view things. If I come to a fork on the road of the town or people or money or whatever it is, of course it's sometimes even still like the emotion is like scorched earth. Like, oh my God, what happened? How do we do this? You stink. But I think when you can recognize that and remember that you have a choice in how you respond to it and say, dude, like I want to be the guy who's like cool, calm, and collected. I want to respond to this with love and care. Even if they wronged me, I still want to know that I love them and that they will probably still also know that they messed up. But I am only in control of what I can control. And that's a pretty good feeling. I was listening to there's a podcast with Tony Robbins and Chris Williams yesterday. And he's like, if you have life on your terms, you have an extraordinary life. And I think sometimes people misconstrue extraordinary life with the mega yacht, the travel, the material things, which is cool. And I don't have a mega yacht. But dude, I get to make my own schedule, basically 7 days a week. And I'm very fortunate. I think intuitively, I'm a high energy. I want to help people. I want to get involved. So the days that I make are the days that I make. I'm not doing anything that I don't want to do. And that is a privilege. So.
See, I gotta hang out with you more because I think my default personality, and I don't think this means like you're good and I'm bad or vice versa. Mine is very like Seinfeld-esque of like, well, this is gonna suck, and like so I gotta force myself the other way to do that sometimes. But no, you're exactly right. Like, you know, and one of the way that you mentioned it earlier is like there's these seasons of life, and when I was starting Aspire, it was that like, hey, this is amazing, 5 a.m. to whatever. Now that I have a 2-year-old, like I'm like managing of like, hey, where does my mind or my emotions or my, I would never use the word loyalty, but whatever word you want to insert there go. And now I'm like, I got to make sure that when I am doing stuff for Aspire or for whatever, that it's 100% dialed in because I don't have the freedom anymore to, you know, like, yeah, I'll do it at 11 o'clock at night. No big deal. And then, you know, kind of move on from there.
And I think that fluidity is really important too. Another thing I heard from someone is like the pain of change has to be less than the pain of staying the same. Or maybe it was the pain of change has to be great. The pain of staying the same has to be greater than the pain of change for you to actually make a change. And there's still things in my life today where I'm like, oh, well, it's not that bad. Whatever. I'll just do this real fast. Like freaking text messages at 10 p.m., text messages, whatever, email. But there will come a point in time where I'm like, I'm putting my foot, like I have to figure this out. There's some things that I'm still managing. There's some things that I've done that with already. But for me, I think you have to feel out what intuitively feels good to you and then lean into the stuff that feels good, lean out of the stuff that doesn't feel good, or to your point, have someone else do it. And odds are like there might be someone who loves accounting out there. Like they're going to eat this job up. I hate accounting. They can do that though.
Yeah. So that's a perfect segue. Let's lead into feels good. right? I know that's I mean, it's probably something that you've been saying for a long time, but the appearance of it is relatively new. So where does that come from? I mean, I'm getting the gist of it from you talking now, but fill us in. Yeah, I know you got the hat on. I see the little character. He's awesome. And so what's going on there?
It's funny, man. Very long story short, I was literally on a run, and I was just, I'm fortunate. I think I get runner's high every single run that I go on. It's probably not shocking if people have listened up to this far. I'm like, yeah, man, I just like choose to be happy. Like, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but I do get runner's high a lot, which is neat. So I'm on a run, and I'm like blaring like whatever big booty mix that like just bumping in my head way too loud. And I'm like, this is sick, dude. I'm like, I feel amazing. Physically, like my body has no ailments. Mentally, I'm like riding this endorphin high. Socially, I probably checked in with my friends at some point. Like, I just feel so good. And I remember just like taking a picture about it and like launching it up, and with no thought, it was like, it feels good to feel good. Like, shit, man. Like, my whole life, I've been pretty fortunate. I've had injuries and surgeries, whatever, but like, knock on wood, I'm good. I'm a healthy 28-year-old dude. I can run, I can swim, I can bike, I can do whatever I want. I'm like, it feels good to feel good. Most people, I think, wake up and don't feel good. Maybe mentally, physically, or socially, they don't feel good. I took this picture. That was really that. And then a couple people saw it, and they're like, oh, it must have resonated with them. They like did the same thing. I'm like, oh, so cool. I'm also, sidebar, I think the worst entrepreneur ever. I haven't historically been creative, and I'm also very much like a deal with it guy. Like, if something isn't ideal, I'm like, dude, just like relax, like just figure it out with what you have. So for a little bit, I was like, oh, cool, like people are posting about it. Any like reasonable entrepreneur would be like, dude, there's something here, like we need to do this now. It was quite a while, and I was like, yeah, like it feels good, haha. People were just like doing it and tagging me, and I'd reshare it. And it was sometime last year, I'm like, oh shoot, there's got to be something here, man. Like people like really getting onto it, and then they're also taking it into different areas of their life. It started off with running, it turned into business, and then it turned into like, it feels good to have good relationships. And in a very long-winded answer, I forget the year it actually started in, but we formalized the LLC last year. We've got a huge group chat of people who, for free, just kind of interact and share their wins, share their tough times on one side, and then also like ask for mental health advice, ask for therapists. It's pretty vulnerable, which is neat, and very encompassing of feels good. We've got like 15 people with tattoos, which is wild. And it's just become this lifestyle of wanting to pursue your 100%. So it's been fun.
I want to run the Feels Good 5K. Whenever that happens,
I'm working on it, man.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah, whenever that is, I'm sure.
Feels Good donut run.
Oh, even better. I'm sure that would feel much better.
Feel good and also not good. So we'll see.
So I mean, so how long have you been doing this stuff with the garage now?
3 years. Last October.
All right. So I know sometimes it feels like, you know, I used to get annoyed sometimes when people would ask this question, but like the whole what's next thing. Yeah. So like, you know, where are your eyes now? What's your vision for, you know, forward for the business? Is it, you know, obviously it sounds like you're very passionate about, you know, cultivating and supporting the people that are currently with you now, but are there plans to look for locations? You know, what's on the horizon?
I think on the garage front, I definitely like 3. Me and Sam have always talked about this idea of 3 gyms, North, Central, and South Jersey. When that happens is a TBD. We actually had a lease in hand for Montclair sometimes last year, and I thank whoever's upstairs that we didn't do it, because it would have just been like the worst time ever. I would have been like spread way too thin, not giving Little Silver the time it needs. Long term, I would love to have 3, and I think there is kind of where my mind stops. I have no interest in franchising. The special part about the garage is the intimacy of it. And it's the fact that people go through a process, they get welcomed into this community, and they can feel it. So I always say more of like a mission-based answer of, to the extent that we can serve people the way that we currently do, physically, mentally, socially, in and out of the gym, with events, with the gym, with community, with these experiences and opportunity. Dude, I would love everyone in the world to go to a gym like the garage. Do I want to have garage gyms around the world? I can't comprehend that right now. But I would love people to be able to feel what the people of the garage feel. That right now is at least 3, and then we'll kind of game plan the rest as we go. On Feels Good, there's naturally a lot of overlap, but I think the world is a beautiful place. I think it's an amazing, positive, awesome place, but sometimes I would reason why people think it's the worst. Like, it stinks, the news is horrible, this election, this California, Louisiana, like there's so many instances of tragedy and horror, which I feel for. But I would hate to see people go through life thinking life just sucks. Whether they had one bad instance or they saw one thing on the news. Feels Good to me is an opportunity for people anywhere, because right now it's totally online until we start the donut run, to be a part of something that's bigger than themselves and be a part of a group of people that's on the same page with chasing this 100% version of themselves. So to kind of bridge the gap there between the two, very mission-based of serving people. I think the most important thing is serving the group that we already have and encouraging them to bring their friends and serving them well as well. And to the extent possible that we can do that, we'll kind of see where it goes.
Cool, man. Well, it's been way too long since you and I got together. What was that?
Yeah,
what was that workout? Like how long ago? Like
It might have been 2 years ago, dude. You came up to Westfield. We had the different colored bumper plates that still haunt me. I remember that. I think it was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, so that was a great workout. I had a ton of fun. But if someone's looking to find you, whether it's to check out the Garage Gym or Feels Good, where can they find you?
So my personal Instagram handle is Kieran Feels Good. Shocker. But I will say also, just email me, man. I think if I can help in any way, my response times will probably be bad, but Kieran@thegaragegym.co, not .com. Someone had that domain, .co. If I can be a resource for anything and starting a business and looking to find a group of people, if you live in Arizona and want to start a run club, I'll try and help, man. Like, just put yourself out there, and I think hopefully if I can help in any way I can, I will.
Perfect, man. As always, appreciate you.
Likewise, bud.
Talk soon.